when the weather gives us a beating, the disaster restoration industry is there to help people, property, and more. So, from deploying to disaster areas for large cat work, often referred to as storm chasing, or staying local and drying out a home with a flooded basement because of a broken pipe, there's much work that goes into what a restoration company does before the actual work even commences. So, today on our program, we're going to explore the influence of extreme weather, the importance of preparedness, and the transformative role of technology in managing weather related risks. We will also discuss how a company can both monitor the weather and respond with marketing tactics to drive revenue. And to do this, I'm pleased to welcome Alexander Ruggie, the Marketing and Business Development Director for ASAP Restoration in Arizona. Al, welcome to the program.
Jeff, great to be here. Thank you for having me again.
No hurricanes there, right?
Not so far. Now just extreme heat.
It's always something. In the weather, we see all kinds of things happening around the world. Right now, as we're recording this, to show the timeline, Milton is about to hit Florida. So
Yep.
it's happening all the time and it gets worse and worse, it seems. But Al, I want to talk about, we're going to dig into your article you wrote for Clean Facts, Monetizing Mother Nature. You co-authored it. And we want to talk about what the content in that article can do to help the industry because not every company is the same. Some are set up to respond quickly, others need some help. But I know you gave some great strategies. You shared some great strategies in that article. So if you're ready, let's get started.
Okay. Let me see. So I would say that depending on what your size is, right? I mean, small, medium, large restoration companies are going to have different offerings and different capacities and logistics and challenges and stuff. But the biggest obstacle I would say that all companies face, no matter what size they are, would probably be preparedness and communication. So when it comes to monetizing the weather, I think that the biggest factor for most people is really going to be as simple as using a calendar. I mean, I think that we all get wrapped up in the daily, rigmarole of trying to keep a business running, trying to grow things, trying to keep the customers happy, trying to make money, trying to do our best work. And, when we do those day-to-day things, we kind of forget that, week by week goes by month goes by, and then all of a sudden we're back to, the same season that we were at when we started making money last year. I mean, need to be prepared for those seasons. And I think that doing so, geographically speaking, is probably the best way to take advantage of it from an individual standpoint or a restoration company standpoint, however you want to make money off of it. So I would say if you're in the Northwest or, in the North in general, you're going to be needing to worry about freezing rain, polar vortexes, stuff like that. If you're in the Southwest, you need to worry about storms or, drought season and fire season. There's a monsoon season in Arizona, Texas, New Mexico. So that's going to be a mold season right after that. So marking these things down on a calendar, no matter where you are, no matter what business you're doing, is probably going to be the easiest way to take advantage of the dynamic, changing nature of Mother Nature.
Some low-hanging fruit, you might say, some easier things to do. In your article, you also talk about technology. Let's do a deeper dive into that.
Okay.
What type of technology do you feel that those watching can embrace to take this to the next level?
Well, from a monitoring standpoint, I would say that technology plays a big role when it comes down to storms. So, I mean, we're in the restoration business. A large portion of that business is going to be related to water damage. So, knowing where that water damage is going to occur or where it's most likely to occur will definitely set restoration companies up for the highest level of success possible. Um, so that would come down to everything from weather monitoring software that you can use if you're a big enough operation, if you have the resources to take advantage of that. And if you don't, then just keeping track of the 10-day forecast is a good plan. Uh, if you have the capacity to use weather mapping, then that gives you the ability to sort of granularize the process. You can pick where you want to station equipment, trucks, personnel in order to take advantage of specific geographical locations when the weather comes there. Um, and then I would say another big factor when it comes to technology and storm chasing or weather chasing, however you want to look at it, would be communication. Um, I mean, we've all gone to like a concert or a sporting event, and you try to get a cab afterwards, or try to tell your family that you're on your way back, and you can't reach them because all the phones are clogged up because everyone's trying to do the same thing at the same time. That happens with storms too, and I think that the restoration companies that are best positioned to take advantage of monetizing Mother Nature in those situations would be the ones that have the capacity to do communication exterior to the usual system. So if you're relying on cell phones, you're relying on the cell phone system in order to get your communication across. But if you have, something like walkie-talkies, you're better able to communicate with your team, manage resources, logistics, everything.
Thank you, Al. And for those watching, there was a little noise in the background there. That's because he's at an actual restoration company talking during a busy workday, and that's what's happening there. So a little
Sorry
bit
about
of
that, folks.
background noise, not a problem at all. Al, in the article, I'm looking at it, the last part of it talks about marketing for the weather. Now, that seems simple, but how can those watching really monetize a marketing plan to go with the weather? Other things they might do that you mentioned in the feature.
Yeah. So, like I said, I think that the calendar is probably going to be your best approach when it comes to monetizing the weather and using it in your marketing efforts. So, having a good idea of what's going to happen, when it's going to happen, and being prepared before it happens is really the key. From a marketing specific standpoint, I would say that that comes down to preparing your budgets, preparing your advertising if you're doing advertising, preparing your outreach if you're going to do outreach, if you're going to do events, make sure to time those in some way that coordinates with taking advantage of the weather for those things. So, for your strategic partnerships, for example, like if you were to partner with other restoration companies or cleaning companies or something like that, then you would need to have those partnerships established before the weather comes so that you're not worried about if you can borrow air movers from them or rent them from them when you need to transport them. You know that you already have that relationship established, you know what the costs will be and how to get them and where to go and all that fun stuff. And then I would say another marketing aspect that would be easy to take, sort of a low-hanging fruit approach, would be geo-targeting. So with everything from Facebook to Instagram, Nextdoor, all of these sort of sites that guide consumers to products or services or just a general information, those all have geo-targeting capacities to them. So if you wanted to spend your budget specifically on like taking advantage of flooded houses for Hurricane Milton type of thing, then you would be able to say, I only want to focus on this subsection of Florida or this, city or whatever, and then spend all of your dollars there. And then that way, that everything's going towards what's going to make you the most money.
Good strategy. You mentioned if you need equipment, you might rent it. I see some equipment in the background there. Is that for rent?
We are always we're always open to partnerships like that. So if you needed to rent some equipment, Jeff, or anybody in Florida right now, we would.
Well, I'm in Columbus, Ohio. Do you deliver?
I'm sure we could figure it out.
All right. One quick point. I have to ask this. So you network, Al. You know other companies. You see what's happening out there. When you see another company flounder, they want that work during these storm seasons and these events, but they just can't make it happen. They flounder. What are some of the, maybe it's one or two or three, but what are the big breakdowns you see with these companies? What are they missing?
I would say it really does come down to preparedness and logistics. So, I mean, most restoration companies that I've worked for and that I know of in their operations, they tend to keep a pretty slim, not skeleton, but try to bare bones their staff and keep low overhead. I mean, that's the whole game. We got to make a profit in this thing. But that kind of turns into a problem when you try to take advantage of something like a storm because you can't prepare enough for some situations. You can't have enough employees just standing by who are willing to, work only a couple of hours a week type of thing until a storm comes. But for those that do have that capacity or that have those relationships, establishing those things prior to the actual weather event will make a big difference for sure. The biggest failures that I've seen in that were a lack of preparedness from a personnel standpoint and then also a logistics standpoint. So like transporting actual equipment to the location from the other side of the state, for example, is something that you need to, prepare for. You need to get a bigger truck than the one that you've got that you use to haul stuff across town. You know, if you're going to haul your entire operation from one end of the state to the other, it's going to take some logistic work. So preparing for that on every front, from the calendar to the marketing to the partnerships with other businesses in the area that you can take advantage of. Those are all avenues that make it much easier to achieve success when it comes down to monetizing Mother Nature.